Hi everyone, how's it going and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I thought I'd look back into Sky Sports Fantasy Football and show you how I plan out my transfers and my season in general. I've got a spreadsheet here. Obviously you don't have to use a spreadsheet, there's notebooks out there, you can use the notes on your phone, but obviously on Amazon you can get loads of different fantasy football planning notebooks. Personally I use a spreadsheet because I think it's a lot easier and I like using spreadsheets. And yeah, so I thought I'd go through everything that I use to give me the best chance of having a good season. So starting off then, we've got the fixture ticker. This is the first thing here because it's a pretty general thing that everyone looks at when looking at fantasy football. So you can get these anywhere, you can get these on Twitter most of the time. I've only got game week 1 to 9 right now because I couldn't be bothered making the rest of the season. Game week 1 to 9 is really the only thing we're focusing on right now because that's the only days that fixtures are announced for. But this is what I've got. This is just to come on, have a wee look at and see like which teams have good fixtures, etc. Everyone knows how a fixture ticker works, and that's just there. That's just what I've got because it helps plan with when to make different transfers because of who's got good and bad fixtures. Next up, I've got what I think is the most important part, and that's just the fixture days really. I put this together just to show where you can see the different 3-for-1s. This is really what I use the most on the spreadsheet, and it's just to highlight, to see where teams have a lot of fixtures coming up or if they don't have that many. Liverpool and Chelsea here. You can just highlight this wee bit and you can see that Chelsea have 3 games for Liverpool's 1 game. So I would use that, I would just look about and see where I can make different transfers, different hop-on points for certain players. So obviously in this, it'd be a decent idea to take out, say, Salah for, say, an Nkunku for 3 games for Chelsea, plus they've got a single game day which are highlighted in the lighter blue against Luton, which is basically a 4-for-1. And obviously that would be a worthy transfer. So if you're looking for something like this, I'll probably put a picture on my Twitter and you can just screenshot. I update this regularly as the fixtures come out anyway, so if you're looking for this you can go get it on Twitter and take a quick screenshot of it. But yeah, I think this is probably one of the most useful things that you can have, especially for Sky due to the single game days, because you can literally just look about if there's someone you want to take out. Say I've got, let's look at, say, I don't know, we'll say we started with Raheem Sterling for whatever reason, and I want to get him out at some point. These games are past, he's just played Luton, and I want to get him out, so I'd look at maybe bringing in someone like Van Dijk. I would see after Luton they've got no games, and then I would bring Van Dijk in for this game against Newcastle. Could also take him out after the Nottingham Forest game and bring Van Dijk in for the 2-for-0. I didn't want to put like the difficulties, like the different colours and stuff of how difficult the fixtures are on this because I've got it on this fixture ticker anyway. So I feel like if I put it on this as well it would just get quite confusing. So that's not there, but yeah, that's the I don't actually know what you call this. I've named it 3-for-1 at the bottom of the spreadsheet, but yeah, that's that, and it's fairly easy to use. So next up is the transfer planner. I think this is very essential, especially for Sky when you're trying to manage your transfers, not use too many too early and not leave so many late on. So this is what I had last year. I've not updated this, I've not really had a look into it yet, but this is what I had last year to plan the transfers. So we've got all the game weeks along the top here, and then obviously it was 50 transfers, which is a change from 40, so this is where I started to look into it. We've got the blank game weeks here, so I decided to split it into 4, and that was the start of the season up to the blank game weeks, after the blank game weeks up to the World Cup, which was the overhaul, after the World Cup to the next blank game week, which is this one, and then that blank game week to the end of the season. So for me that was just 10 transfers to use. I didn't want to use any transfers in game week 1 or 2 because that seems like a waste. Why would you not just start with them? So the transfers started in game week 3, and that gave me five game weeks to use 10 transfers up to the blank game week. after the blank game week, there was five more game weeks up until the final 2 weeks before the World Cup, because I didn't want to use them. Because 2 weeks before the World Cup would just be wasting transfers because it's the overhaul anyway. So that was another 10 transfers, so that would give me 20 to use up to the halfway point, with 30 after the World Cup. Obviously then it's the overhaul. Then we've got, I think, 5 game weeks. There was a reasoning for it. I think, no, actually, so the 15 transfers is in that box. So there was 2 game weeks before the blank game week, which I allowed myself the 15 transfers. And then obviously the next blank game week, from game week 35 to game week 43, I allowed myself another 15 transfers. So I might follow a similar pattern this week, this year. It depends when the blank game weeks are. Obviously the overhaul is right on New Year, so a couple of things are going to get changed, but I'll probably follow a similar process, try to do 20 up to the overhaul. It just depends when the blank game weeks are. So next up is probably the second most important for the planning section, and that's the actual transfers that you plan on making. So I've got a rough draft here. This is just a random draft I've made. And then I've got a wish list of players below. It's just players I'd like to keep an eye on. So here I've got my current draft and their first 5 games, just to see if there's good fixtures, etc. And then over here I've got the actual planner for different transfers I want to make. So normally this will have like a few. This is just a random transfer. So I've got 0.4 million in the bank with this current draft. And then the 3rd of September I would be taking out Verbruggen for Sam Johnson, gaining 0.4 million and having 0.8 million afterwards. So this is a good way to kind of plan your transfers. If I go back to the 3-for-1, so Verbruggen for Johnson on the 3rd of September. 3rd of September's here, Verbruggen comes out for Sam Johnson, and that's a 3-for-1 there. So it seems like a fair transfer. But yeah, so I would look at this. I'd basically be looking at the 3-for-1, just looking for different points, different 3-for-1s to make different transfers, and I would list them all here. I think this is one that you can easily do on a piece of paper. You obviously don't need a spreadsheet for that. This is probably very essential, because if you don't do that, you're just going to forget which transfers you want to make. And as well, I've got the Team 2 ones here, which I've not made a second team yet, so that stays blank, but it's just the exact same. But yeah, so I would say for Sky, especially for Sky, you want to be planning your transfers out a couple of weeks in advance, even just a rough look at it. A lot of the time, you're just going to come on and change it anyways. But it's good to know what transfers you want to be making, so you're not just making random transfers on the day. And you've actually got a good plan of how many transfers you're going to have left in a few weeks and stuff. If injuries pop up and that, obviously you can just quickly change it. But yeah, I think having a transfer plan with the dates and stuff in place, and making sure you have enough money to make those transfers, is extremely important. Next up, we have the captaincy days. This looks a bit messy. It just is. It's unfinished. I've only done the first game week here, but this is just so you know you have a captain for each of the single game days that are coming up, or just the game days in general. So I've got game week 1 here. I just took a picture. It would be the same in game week 2, the same in game week 3, all the way up to the next or the latest fixtures, which would be game week 9. And then I've just got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which is the 4 game days in the game week, and then the captain that I would have. This is based on the current draft that I've got sitting here. So I would have Haaland captain on the Friday, Dunk captain on the Saturday, Salah on the Sunday, Martinez on the Monday, and then you would just plan this all the way through to game week 9. Again, this is something you can just do on a piece of paper, just writing down the game days and who your captain would be, just to make sure that you do have captains and you're not stuck having to make a transfer late on, and you can get them in earlier if there's extra fixtures and stuff. Yeah, it works for me. It's very useful just to know what captains you're going to have or plan to have in the coming weeks. And then we've got the best captains. I'm going to make a separate video on this. So this is last year's. This is something I just had that didn't update. since then, but this is just the best captains for each game day. It's different from this because this one's the one I would have in my current draft. This one is the one that I just think is the best captain. And then I've got, so down here is the same thing as what's above, but you can keep track of how many times each person appears. So basically Kane's in here 5 times, Haaland's in here 6 times. So you basically think, right, Kane's the best captain 5 days in the next few weeks. So you want to get Kane in, that way you've got the best captain for 5 of the game days. Salah, James as well, that was again last year, so it's slightly different. And then here I've just got all the single game days with the number of single game days each team has. That way you know if it's worth it to bring them in. But yeah, so as I said, I'm going to make a separate video on this in a couple of days, showing all the best captains in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's good to have this. That way, again, you know if you should be bringing a certain player in because they're the best captain 3 or 4 days in a few weeks' time. The next few I don't think aren't as essential. They're just kind of like add-ons basically. So I've got a notes section here, and that's really just to put in a lot of things that just don't really go anywhere, but you just want to see how it would work. So I've just got like different, I don't even know what this was. This was at the start of last season where I was just putting a load of random stuff in. Yeah, different 3-for-1s. Again, different rotations. I think this was Salah, Haaland and Kane, just seeing where the different rotations were for each one. But yeah, it's just really a notes section. Again, you don't have this, and you don't need to have this, and it's easy just to write on a piece of paper. Again, just random stuff. So I don't think that's that necessary. Next is the drafts. This is just one where you can just put a load of your drafts in, write down the pros and cons. So I've got 2 so far. These are just 2, again, random drafts that I've made. Don't have any pros and cons for them yet because I've just got this here for video purposes. But yeah, I think it's good just to be able to see all your drafts right beside each other, and see which like different comparisons and stuff, see which players are better. But yeah, again, it's not necessary. None of this is. It's just it's really just preference. But yeah, so drafts are there as well. And next is the 3-for-1 graphic, which I really just use for videos, so that's really not necessary whatsoever. But yeah, that is what I use. That is what I use to plan my Sky Fantasy season. It works for me, and hopefully it works for you too. If it does, and if you learned anything from here, please like the video. I thought I'd just showcase this again. This here, the 3-for-1. The 3-for-1 page will be on my Twitter if you're looking for it. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.